Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government releases admission lists for 110 unity schools. EU to replace gas from Russia with Nigeria. Plus, grain exports deal signed between Russia, Ukraine, UN, and Turkey. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First, in our news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari today hosted a delegation of chieftains of the All Progressives Congress APC, led by the party's national chairman Senator Adamu Abdullahi, at the presidential villa Abuja. The delegation included the party's vice presidential candidate Senator Kashim Shettima, Senate President Ahmad Lawan, Deputy Senate President Ovie Omoagege, Deputy Speaker Idris Wase, and some governors on the party's platform. Addressing the visitors, President Buhari again expressed a vote of confidence in Senator Kashim Shettima, the vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress. The presidential candidate of the party, Bola Tinubu, was, however, not at the meeting. In the meantime, President Buhari says next year's elections will give the All Progressives Congress the opportunity to consolidate its achievements of the past 7 years. He also declared that his personal desire and the priority of his administration was to bequeath an irreversible political process that continues to be both democratic and acceptable to Nigerians. According to a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president stated this when he received a delegation from Nasarawa State led by its governor Abdullahi Sule. According to President Buhari, the off-season elections in Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun states have confirmed his administration's irreversible commitment to credible and violence-free polls in the country. He told the high-powered delegation that the Electoral Act he signed earlier this year was an attestation of the fulfillment of the administration's determination and commitment to the tenets of the rule of law. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has reacted to the demise of the father of Senator Arlene Dume, Buba Dume. In a condolence message signed by his spokesman Garba Shehu, President Buhari described the late Dume as a gentleman and a great father who was an awesome inspiration to his children. In a message to Senator Ndume, the president said he was profoundly touched by the death of the senator's father and prayed God to reward his noble deeds with paradise. Away from that, federal government has argued that in spite of Nigeria's security challenges, the country is not a war zone and is safe for investment. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed made the remark in Lagos at the Platform Capital Forum, organized by Unicorn Group. According to reports, the forum is an assemblage of major investors, startups, and early-stage companies in technology and innovative areas from across the globe. Addressing the global audience, the minister observed the demarketing going on about Nigeria, particularly outside the shores of the country. He admonished those responsible for the unfavorable narratives to refrain from the act and protect the name of their country. In education, the federal government has released the list of admissions into the 110 unity colleges across the country, including the Gifted Academy in Suleja, Niger State. A statement by the Director of Press, Federal Ministry of Education, Benjamin Gong, directed parents of pupils who applied for admission into any of the nation's unity colleges to check for the names of their wards on the ministry's website www.education.gov.ng or at the school they applied to. The statement added that limited vacancies still existed in some unity colleges and that admission was ongoing in such colleges. Elsewhere, Minister of Federal Capital Territory Mohammed Bello says 21.029 billion naira is needed to complete the rehabilitation of the National Assembly complex. Bello gave the figure during an oversight tour of some projects by the Senate Committee on FCT and noted that no major rehabilitation work had been carried out on the building over the years. He listed other priority projects embarked upon by the administration to include rehabilitation of Federal Secretariat Complex, construction of Southern Park, provision of engineering infrastructure for Wuse District, rehabilitation and expansion of Outer Southern Expressway Villa Roundabout, and completion of B6, B12 and Circle Road in Central Area, Abuja. Now, on legislative matters, the House of Representatives is to delay the second reading of the controversial National Water Resources Bill 2020 till September, when the National Assembly resumes from its annual two-month recess. The chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources, Sada Soli, made this known at the plenary, saying that the break will allow members to scrutinize the proposals in the legislation and note their observations. It would be recalled that the bill had re-emerged on the floor of the House of Representatives on June 29, 2022, amid suspicions from members. The leadership, however, assured the lawmakers that the new version of the legislation would capture all the interests of the states.
Way before this matter comes up for second reading, every single member is given a copy to digest, to read, to consult wide. We cannot play the ostrich and knowing that the bill that almost threw this country up in flames is coming up again and just say, let members go through it.
To the judiciary now, where Justice Adeyemi Ajayi of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has ordered that former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, and 3 others be remanded in the custody of the Nigerian Correctional Service Kuje. The remand order followed the arraignment of the former Accountant General Ahmed Idris alongside 3 others on a 14-count charge bordering on conspiracy, criminal breach of trust and money laundering by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Justice Ajayi ordered that Idris and his co-defendants be kept in Kuje pending the hearing of their bail applications on July 27. Recall that Idris was arrested by the EFCC over his alleged illegal diversion of public funds to the tune of 109.4 billion naira on May 16. He was suspended 2 days later and replaced on May 22. Still from the judiciary, a Federal High Court sitting in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State capital, has recognized Princess Agom Eze as the senatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for Ebonyi South Zone. Governor Umahi had, through his counsel Roy Umahi, dragged the Independent National Electoral Commission to the Federal High Court in Abakaliki to compel the commission to recognize the governor as the authentic senatorial candidate for Ebonyi South Senatorial District. However, Agom Eze approached the court and urged it not to recognize Governor Umahi's senatorial bid. In a separate development, European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS says the bloc will replace the gas from Russia with Nigerian gas due to the invasion in Ukraine. The Deputy Director General Department for Energy at European Commission in Brussels, Matthew Baldwin, announced this at a news conference in Abuja. Baldwin said he will be meeting with Nigerian top government officials and private sector players, including key stakeholders in the country's energy sector. It could be recalled that the EU's executive body had urged member states to slash their gas consumption by 15%, as it warned that a complete shutdown of Russian supplies was likely. The EU has been scrambling to wean itself off Russian gas since the invasion of Ukraine, but is alarmed about a potential energy crisis this winter. On the 2023 census, National Population Commission has reaffirmed its readiness to partner security agencies to ensure all hard-to-reach areas in Borno State are not excluded from the ongoing trial exercise. The Federal Commissioner Borno State Isa Borotai made this known while briefing newsmen over the ongoing trial census in Maiduguri. He said, considering the peculiarity of Borno, a test run of digital devices had been deployed across 9 local government areas in the state. Borotai explained that 45 enumerators had been selected and cut across the 9 areas of the state where trial census would be conducted in Kukawa, Nganzai, Mate, Mafa, Jere, Ngala, Biu, Hawul, and Chibok councils. He said the test run of the digital devices became imperative as the country is about to witness the first ever use of such devices in conducting the 2023 census, hence the need to ensure an error-free exercise. Now in politics, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Lagos State has slated July 25 and 26 for persons living with disabilities to register. 8 special centers have been designated for this purpose across the 5 Ibile divisions of the state. They are Ikorodu Central Local Government Area, Ikorodu, Ability and Disability Center, Ajara Badagry, Old Secretariat Ikeja, Onikan Youth Center, Lagos Island, Sports Recreation Center Ekpe, Idiaraba Correctional Center, Teslim Balogun Stadium, and Correctional Center Okobaba. The exercise will be done in collaboration with the Lagos State Office of Disability Affairs. At a news conference, head of INEC Voter Registry, Muyiwa Yusuf, said the Commission had put in place special consideration for the registration of persons living with disabilities. Still in politics, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has reacted to controversy surrounding the choice of his running mate, Ifeanyi Okowa, rather than the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike. Recall that Atiku, after announcing Okowa as his running mate, clarified that he had picked the Delta governor because he had the qualities to be a president, adding that he was a president in waiting. He added that before arriving at the decision, he held wide consultations with various stakeholders in the party, including the governors, the National Working Committee, Board of Trustees, and other leaders, to seek their inputs and wisdom. Away from that, Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has called off its 3-day warning strike after resolving issues as regards workers' remuneration with APM Terminal Apapa. The President General of the union, Adewale Adeyanju, confirmed the development to journalists. Adeyanju said the union and the terminal operator reached an agreement in resolving some issues with the collective bargaining agreement. He confirmed that workers were to resume operational activities at the terminal with immediate effect. The union leader also commended the management of the Nigerian Port Authority and the Nigerian Shippers Council for the prompt intervention to save the nation's economy from collapse. Adeyanju, however, reiterated the union's commitment towards ensuring industrial peace and harmony in the shipping industry. It would be recalled that the leadership of the dock workers had on Wednesday shut down the terminal, alleging refusal of the operator to review the workers' agreement, which is usually done annually. On security matters, Nigerian military says the country is running out of space to accommodate Boko Haram defectors in Borno, which is the epicenter of the insurgency. According to the head of the military, Major General Chris Musa, 67,000 former Islamist militants have so far handed themselves over. He said the mass surrender of the jihadist fighters would help improve the security situation in the state. The UN estimates that close to 350,000 people have died as a result of the conflict with Boko Haram, which began 20 years ago. Still to come in the news. Federal government to increase fuel subsidy spending for 2023 by 2.7 trillion naira. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Moving on now to Africa, where Ivory Coast's president has dismissed suggestion that his country sought to destabilize Mali after a group of Ivorian soldiers were detained there and accused of being mercenaries. Speaking during an official visit to South Africa, President Alassane Ouattara also voiced hopes for a rapid solution to the dispute, which has strained relations between the two West African countries. Reports say 49 Ivorian soldiers were detained after their arrival at Bamako airport on July 10. Mali labeled them mercenaries, but Ivory Coast said they were sent to provide backup duties for the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali. Still in Africa, judges at the United Nations highest court have dismissed objections by Myanmar to a genocide case brought against it. The decision paves the way for the case on the treatment of Myanmar's Rohingya Muslim minority to go ahead at the International Court of Justice. It was introduced 3 years ago by the Gambia on behalf of the Organization for Islamic Cooperation. Myanmar's military government argued that the Gambia had no standing to present the case, but this was rejected by the 13-judge panel. The charges refer to a deadly crackdown by Myanmar's military on Rohingya communities in 2017. Thousands of people were killed and hundreds of thousands displaced, many of them to neighboring countries, with a UN investigation finding in 2018 that the crackdown had been carried out with genocidal intent. Elsewhere, the U.S. Development Agency is giving Kenya more than $255 million to tackle drought, which has left millions of people without food supplies. Speaking in the capital, Nairobi, the head of USAID, Samantha Power, said the war in Ukraine was increasing suffering in Kenya and the rest of the region. The UN World Food Programme said across East Africa, more than 50 million people were facing acute food insecurity. It said Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan, and Sudan are facing food crisis, with parts of Somalia at risk of famine unless humanitarian assistance is scaled up. To Cameroon now, where scenes of people lining up at gas stations in the capital Yaoundé with jerry cans in hand are becoming common. Reports say most fuel stations have run out of diesel in recent days, and those that have the commodity are now rationing in it. In the wake of scarce supplies of diesel, transporters have increased fares and prices of goods are shooting up. According to reports, fuel subsidies cost the Cameroonian state over $1.2 billion a year, and Yaoundé has come under pressure from the International Monetary Fund to stop them. In the meantime, the rising price of basic foods is reportedly worsening South Africa's food security crisis, which could increase social instability and spark a repeat of the devastating July unrest. An organization addressing hunger in poor communities, Food Forward South Africa, says every month 30 million people in the country are experiencing food insecurity, and in the East Cape, 12 children die of starvation. Food Forward South Africa Managing Director Andy Places said the main concern was the opportunistic crime and riots that would spiral out of control as a result. Reports say South African consumer inflation surged to a 13-year high last month, mainly driven by rising transport and food prices. On the foreign scene, Russia and Ukraine have signed separate accords with the UN and Turkey to reopen Ukraine's Black Sea ports to grain exports in an effort to ease an international food crisis caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The agreement will allow millions of tons of grain currently trapped in Ukraine by the war to be exported. The world shortage of Ukrainian grain since Russia's February 24 invasion has reportedly left millions at risk of hunger. However, Kyiv refused to sign a direct deal with Moscow and has warned that provocations will be met with an immediate military response. The two sides both attended the signing ceremony in Istanbul, but did not sit at the same table. Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu signed Moscow's deal first, followed by Ukrainian Infrastructure Minister Alexander Kubrakov signing Kyiv's identical agreement. The deal, which took 2 months to reach, is set to last for 120 days, with a coordination and monitoring center to be established in Istanbul, staffed by UN, Turkish, Russian, and Ukrainian officials. It can be renewed if both parties agree. In a related development, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has praised the grain export deal agreed to by Russia and Ukraine, saying the move will offer relief to the world. At a ceremony in Istanbul, Guterres described the event as a beacon on the Black Sea, a beacon of hope a beacon of possibility and a beacon of relief in a world that needs it more than ever. He added that he was thankful for Turkey's facilitation and persistence in helping to broker the deal, saying Ankara's role had been essential through every step of the process. Still on the foreign scene, security forces in Sri Lanka have raided the main anti-government protest camp in the capital today, arresting protesters and dismantling tents. Hundreds of troops and police commandos moved on the protesters outside the presidential offices in Colombo hours before they were due to leave the area. A video journalist was allegedly beaten by the army, and one soldier snatched his phone and deleted videos. 9 people, including 2 who are injured, have been arrested by police. Still in Sri Lanka, a senior lawmaker, Dinesh Gunawardena, has been sworn in as the new Prime Minister. His office confirmed this as the Indian Ocean nation grapples with its worst economic crisis in decades. The event came hours after security forces raided a protest camp on government grounds in the main city of Colombo and cleared part of it, with at least 9 arrests as the new administration moves to crack down on protesters. A former minister from the Podujana Peramuna party, Gunawardena, took the oath of office in the presence of Wickremesinghe, seated in front of uniformed military officers in a room packed with lawmakers and officials. Still on the foreign scene, France's divided parliament has passed the first major piece of legislation since elections last month, green-lighting a €20 billion package to help low-income families struggling with inflation. The emergency purchasing power bill passed with 341 members of parliament in favor, 116 against, and 21 abstentions. It includes a range of measures designed to help consumers, such as extending fuel tax cuts, raising pensions and benefits, and capping rent increases. The legislation also gives the government power to tackle a looming energy crisis caused by the fallout from Russia's military operation in Ukraine. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. We have Blyden Ukem standing by.
Good evening, and thank you, Xavier Roberts. It's business news. My name is Blyden Ukem. In the news, we begin with British Airways situation. Strike action by hundreds of British Airways workers at Heathrow has been called off after staff accepted an 8% pay rise offer. The GMB and Unite Union said more than 75% of its members backed the pay deal. A total of 700 workers, mostly check-in staff, had been set to strike during the summer over a 10% pay cut imposed during the pandemic. Workers will also get a one-off bonus and a reinstatement of extra pay for irregular shifts. According to Unite, the offer, which will be paid in several stages, is worth 18% in total. And to the agricultural market, wheat price retreats as Black Sea trade resumes. Ukraine and Russia accounted for nearly 30% of global wheat exports before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the war has led to a global food crisis. Wheat price fell to $7.7 per bushel, hovering around 5 months lows at levels prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, after Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement to resume grain exports from Ukrainian ports in the Black Sea. The Safe Trade Corridor will allow Ukraine to export over 20 million tons of grain reported to be accumulated in port silos since the war started on February 24th, while also clearing space for the coming wheat harvest. On top of that, forecast from the United States Department of Agriculture predicts a sharp increase in the supply exports and ending stocks in the United States, and a decrease in consumption for the rest of the world for the 2022-2023 marketing year. Meanwhile, a record harvest in Russia and expectations of lower export taxes added to the bearish tone, exacerbating shortage and relief when the US announced that grains and fertilizers from Russia will not be sanctioned. And to Japan's economic index, inflation stays above central bank's target of 2% for a third month. The Bank of Japan, BOJ, is keeping ultra-low interest rates in place even as other central banks tighten policy to cool rising prices. The annual inflation rate in Japan was at 2.4% in June 2022, little change from May's 7.5 years high of 2.5%. The latest reading represented the 10th straight month of rises in consumer prices amid surging fuel and food prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as a sharply weakening yen. Prices grew further for food at 3.7% against 4.1% in May, fuel, lights, and water charges 14.0% against 14.4%, clothes 1.1% against 0.9%, and housing 0.6% against 0.5%. At the same time, costs fell further for both transport and medical care. Core consumer prices were at 2.2% year-on-year in June, the most since February 2015, following a 2.1% rise in May, matching forecasts while remaining above the Bank of Japan's 2% target for the third straight month. On a monthly basis, consumer prices were flat in June, after an upwardly revised 0.3% gain in June. And in Nigeria, we'll be looking at Nigeria's petrol importation, as federal government is set to increase fuel subsidy spending for 2023 by 2.7 trillion naira. The federal government will spend the said amount, 2.7 trillion naira, more on fuel subsidy payment in 2023, according to the Minister of Finance, Budgets and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, during the presentation of the 2023 to 2035 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper in Abuja. She said the government estimated subsidy payment would gulf 6.7 trillion naira. The amount was pegged on the business as usual scenario, higher than the 3.36 trillion naira projected for the reform scenario. However, the government had put the estimated subsidy spending for this year at 4 trillion naira. The rise in price of crude oil and the ripple effects of the Russia and Ukraine war were believed to have driven the increase in Nigeria's fuel subsidy payment, which the government had planned to remove in January, but suspended the decision till June 2023. And now the Nigerian stock market report. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 28 trillion naira. And at the end of the last weekday of trading, which is today on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 205.0 million shares in 3,600 deals, corresponding to a market value of 3.05 billion naira, were traded. The benchmark all-share index shed 142.08 basis points to close at 51,979.92 points, representing a one-week loss of 0.45%. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 35% improvement in volume, 42% improvement in turnover, as well as 4% improvement in deal. In the aggregate, 106 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 9 gainers and 18 losers. International breweries led the gainers with 9.09% in share price appreciation, closing at 5.40 naira per share. On the losing side, May and Becker Nigeria came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 3 naira 60 kobo per share. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 63.7 million traded shares. This is all on business news, and back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Still to come in the news. The 15% TV rights to firm. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the federal government is set to begin the implementation of the National Surgical Obstetric Anesthesia and Nursing Plan 2019-2023. The head of Coordinating Unit Department of Hospital Services, Ministry of Health, Dr. Obiajulu Ubo, confirmed this while presenting the plan's working document to the Acting Chief Medical Director, National Hospital Abuja, Dr. Aisha Omar. Ubo said the plan was developed in line with a World Health Assembly resolution of 2015 that states that surgical obstetric, anesthesia and nursing care are important components of universal health coverage. She added that the 5-year plan was inaugurated in May 2019 but could not kick off due to the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. The unit head said the plan aims to strengthen existing infrastructure and equipment, achieve access to surgical care for both adults and children by the year 2023, and increase the middle-level workforce.
To bring surgical, obstetrics, anesthesia, and nursing care, to spread it across all levels of the government. So to make it just like the mandate of the ministry, to make healthcare accessible, affordable to the masses. We are just disseminating the policy, the plan at this stage. So the plan is at the level of the implementation. It will be reviewed and then we can give you our success.
It is over now to Bright James for trending sports stories.
Thank you, Stevie Roberts. Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk. I am Bright James. To begin with tennis, where Bernarda Para's summer surge continued in style at the Hamburg European Open as the American defeated 7th seed Marina Zanevska 6-2, 6-4 in the semis. The victory puts the 81-ranked Pera, who captured a maiden WTA Tour title last week in Budapest, into a second final in a row. She's 27 and has won 11 straight matches at all levels, stretching back to Budapest, and 22 consecutive sets. World number 2 Anett Kontaveit will be Pera's opponent in the final after Kontaveit defeated Anastasia Potapova 6-3, 7-5 in 1 hour 43 minutes. Kontaveit is now into a 16th career final and 6th, her 7th singles title. Still from tennis, Matteo Berrettini survived a major scare earlier today at the Swiss Open Gstaad, rallying past 5th seed Pedro Martinez 3-6, 7-6, 6-1 to reach the semis, extending his winning streak to 11 matches. The Italian was on the brink of defeat in his second set tiebreak, trailing 1-5, however, rallied to raise away in the third set, advancing into our 16 minutes. 26-year-old will next play Austrian Dominic Thiem after the former world number 3 continued to gather momentum with a 6-4, 6-3 victory over Peruvian qualifier Juan Pablo Varillas. Berrettini led Thiem 3-2 in their ATP head-to-head series. Now to Formula One, where Ferrari's Carlos Sainz will have agreed penalty at the French Grand Prix for using too many engine parts. For now, he has only a 10-place penalty after using a third electronic control unit, one more than permitted. But following his engine fire in the Australian Grand Prix, Ferrari is expected to take further parts later this weekend, sending the Spaniard to the back to the grid. Carlos Sainz's teammate Charles Leclerc set the pace in first practice. Leclerc and title rivals Max Verstappen were separated by just 0.091 seconds as both tried out new parts. The race comes up on Sunday at the Circuit Sport Ricard. Now to basketball, where Philadelphia 76ers free agent star James Harden has returned to the franchise on a new 2-year, $68.6 million contract, including a player option for the 2023-2024 season, according to sources. The deal guarantees Harden's $33 million for next season and the opportunity to decline his $35.6 million player option, negotiating another free agent deal next summer, according to sources. Harden was a 10-time All-Star and a 6-time first-team All-NBA guard, told Sixers president that he wanted to do his part to fortify the team's roster, giving it a chance to compete for the championship. He turns 33 next month, averaged 22 points and 10.3 assists across 65 games within the Nets and the Sixers. Now, two football stories, where Barcelona have sold further 15% TV rights to a domestic television firm, a global investment firm, Sixth Street, the club announced earlier today. Sources have said that Barca hope the sale will enable them to register summer signings of Frank Kessié, Andres Christensen, Rafinha, and Robert Lewandowski. Barca will also use the money to re-inscribe Sergio Roberto and Ousmane Dembele with La Liga after the duo signed new contract, with President Juan Laporta saying the club will now look to strengthen in defense. Sixth Street have now purchased 25% of Barca's income from La Liga television rights for the next 25 years, having bought 7% for €207.5 million at the end of June. And that's it on sport for this evening. I am Bright James. Over now to Peter Bryan.
Thanks, Bright James. Hello and welcome to the Entertainment Desk. I am Beto Bryan. On our stories making the bulletin this evening, Nollywood produces 553 movies in second quarter of 2022, according to NFVCB. According to the National Film and Video Censorship Board, NFVBC, the board says that it has received and censored 553 movies produced by Nigerian film industry in the second quarter of the year 2022. Alhaji Adedayo Thomas, the Executive Director stroke CEO, NFVCB, made this known in a statement on Thursday in Abuja. He said the figures were provided by the Department of Film Censorship and Classification of the board in its second quarter report of the year. He added that the report captured all films submitted to the board from across the country.
The report also shows a slight increase in the number of films produced from 541 in the first quarter to 553 in the second quarter of the year. He said 209 of the films came in from Lagos State Censorship Center of the board, representing the chunk of movies produced during the period, followed by Abuja with 189 films. Onitsha recorded 92 films, Kano brought in 44, while Jos and Abeokuta centers recorded 10 and 4 respectively. Thomas added that the analysis by the censorship location further showed that Port Harcourt and Ibadan got 2 movies each, while Benin stood beneath with just 1 film within the period under review. The NFVCB is a federal government body that regulates the film and video industry in Nigeria. The board is empowered by the law to classify all films and videos, whether imported or produced locally. It is also the duty of the board to register all films and video outlets across the country and to keep a record of such registered outlets, amongst other functions. On our second story making our bulletin, Waje releases new album, Waje 2.0. The Nigerian songstress Waje has released a new album she calls Waje 2.0, featuring the likes of Falz, Mastercraft, Tiwa Savage, Amy Laws, and Emmy Black, under her self-acclaimed record label Waje / Continued Entertainment. And last but not the least, from the entertainment desk this evening, Jennifer Lopez and hubby Ben Affleck have been spotted in Paris on honeymoon. The American actress and her husband Ben Affleck are currently in Paris for their honeymoon, according to reports gathered from Page 6. The newlywed couple were photographed in Paris on Thursday, July 21, 2022. J-Lo was spotted in a flowing red dress with a plunging neckline, while her husband donned a dark suit and flashed his new wedding band. Early in the day, Lopez was seen rocking a simple t-shirt and jeans with a fedora, while her husband arrived in a blue button-up and a matching dress pants. The coming days after the couple had wed in Las Vegas, a newsletter released by the award-winning singer had her address fans, where she wore a dress from an old movie as she and the actor gave one another rings to wed and do for the rest of their lives at a little white chapel. It will be recalled that the power couple got engaged in April, with Lopez announcing her engagement in a short video via her fan newsletter. On the J-Lo, in which she stares adorningly at a green-hued diamond ring. The couple first sparked engagement rumors earlier after J-Lo was spotted wearing the big rock. The actress was spotted while in a furniture shop with her 14-year-old daughter, Emmy, in the covert city of Los Angeles, when the couple has started dating back again in 2021 after several weeks of speculations. They were then spotted on several occasions after J-Lo split with the NBL star Alex Rodriguez. The couple, known as Benifa, got engaged in 2002 for the first time, but signs were on the rock when it started to surface and they postponed their wedding back in 2003. Finally, they get to tie the knot this year as fans hope that this marriage would last forever. That's our news from the entertainment desk this evening. I am Beat O'Brien, thanking you for watching and wishing you a beautiful weekend ahead. Over to Xavier Roberts.
That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, and you have a terrific weekend.